people view you, right, in a public setting, they're always going to have opinions about your life. They're always going to have opinions about your life. And I think that Cardi B handles it well because, yeah, this is, I'm like over here like a little ant.
This is the story of a woman who defended her man through a criminal trial, 2 baby mama situations, and a Super Bowl loss, and still wound up screaming at him outside a Maryland coffee shop 2 weeks later. We're talking about Cardi B and Stefon Diggs, and the question on everybody's mind right now is simple: how much is too much? The day after Cardi announced the birth of their son, a woman named Aileen LaPera went public with something she'd actually filed in court back in December 2024. A paternity suit claiming Stefon Diggs fathered her daughter, Charlie Harper Diggs LaPera, born in April 2025. LaPera, a Fashion Nova ambassador and influencer with over 300,000 Instagram followers, had been carrying this case through the courts while Cardi carried Diggs' child. Diggs contested paternity and asked for a DNA test, and in his legal response requested joint custody if the test came back positive. The test came back in November 2025, the same month baby Brim was born, and LaPera's attorney delivered the result to Page 6 directly. The paternity has been confirmed. Mr. Diggs is the father of the child. 2 confirmed children, 2 different women, same month. LaPera ultimately filed to dismiss her case in January 2026, with her attorney offering only 4 words on the resolution: the matter has been resolved. Financially resolved? Maybe. A source close to Cardi later told People, the second she felt that she couldn't trust him, she pulled back. That detail matters more than it might seem, and it becomes the through line for everything that followed. December 2nd, 2025. Diggs is at his home in Dedham, Massachusetts, and his personal chef, Jamila Adams, later claims that he walked into her bedroom following a dispute over money he owed her, slapped her across the face, and attempted to choke her with his elbow around her neck. Adams waited 14 days before walking into the police station on December 16th, visibly upset and crying, asking first to speak with a female officer before agreeing to give her full statement. Felony strangulation and misdemeanor assault and battery. Those were the charges. Diggs pleaded not guilty, and his legal team immediately began constructing a counter-narrative. The financial picture around Adams became the centerpiece of the defense. Her initial demand stood at $19,000, a number that climbed steadily until her attorney was formally seeking $5.5 million from Diggs. Placed on the stand and asked directly about that figure, Adams responded, "I can't speak on that." Defense attorneys also pointed out that Adams gave Diggs a birthday gift less than 24 hours after the alleged assault took place. The witnesses lined up against her account. Diggs' chief of staff, his massage therapist, a nurse who administered his IV treatments, and his hairstylist all testified they spent time with Adams in the days following the alleged incident, and not one of them heard her mention being attacked or observed any visible injuries on her. The police officer who took her initial report confirmed the same. No photographs collected, no other witnesses interviewed. The investigation built almost entirely on Adams' account and text messages she provided. Prosecutors pushed back in closing arguments, telling jurors not to discard Adams' testimony just because she had been argumentative, avoidant, difficult on the stand, and asking them to weigh what she'd actually said rather than how she'd said it. The jury received the case at 3:07 in the afternoon. By 4:33, they were back. 90 minutes of deliberation, not guilty on all counts. Defense attorney Andrew Kettlewell told the court that prosecutors had failed to produce a single shred of credible evidence that any assault occurred, and outside the courthouse, Diggs' attorney Mitchell Schuster addressed the cameras. Mr. Diggs was wrongly accused, and this case represents exactly the kind of opportunistic targeting that players can face the moment they step off the field. Cleared. Done. Legally at least. Within hours of that verdict, Jamila Adams opened Instagram and posted something that flipped the entire conversation back open. What she wrote wasn't directed at Diggs. It was directed at the mother of one of his children, an emotional video message where Adams stated, "The way he treated you when you were pregnant, the way he talked to you when you were pregnant, will always be something I will never understand. The way he treated you in the delivery room, the way he treated you after the baby?" And then she added, "The same person that abused you, abused me." Adams stopped short of naming which woman she meant, saying only, "That's not my story to tell." But the second part of her post named someone directly. Writing to Cardi B on Instagram, Adams put it plainly, "I was the one apologizing for how he treated you while you were pregnant and after. Cardi, you know I didn't lie." Text messages claiming to support her account followed. Ones Adams says were submitted as trial evidence but never publicly addressed during the proceedings. Her caption read, "I know what I lived through. He knows what happened. And the people who know him know the truth too." Diggs has not publicly responded to any of it. March 11th, 2026, the Patriots released Diggs, with his salary cap number set to climb from $10.5 million to $26.5 million, and another $6 million in guaranteed money set to kick in if he'd stayed on the roster past that date. The team cut him loose and recovered $16.8 million in cap space, and with felony charges still active at that point, his attorney confirmed that other teams had been hesitant to pursue him while the case remained open. Post-acquittal, Schuster told reporters Diggs wants to return to the NFL, but league clearance now stands between him and a new contract: 4 Pro Bowls, 7 1,000-yard seasons, a 2025 campaign where he proved at 32 he could still play at a high level. And right now, none of that is enough to get him back on a roster. Despite everything, Cardi and Diggs kept finding their way back into the same rooms. April 8th, 2026, Diggs turned up at her Washington, D.C. concert, spent the show dancing alongside his mom, and after the after-party, Cardi climbed into his car and they drove off together. By April 29th, a backstage photo from her Little Miss Drama tour circulated showing the two of them with baby Brim. Then came May 9th. Cardi made a surprise appearance at the Diggs Deep Foundation's Mother's Day Wellness event in D.C., where sports journalist Kelsey Nicole Nelson posted footage of Diggs wrapping his arm around Cardi, kissing her on the cheek, the two of them warm and affectionate in front of cameras. A source told People she had never closed the door completely, and reconciliation talk took over social media for the better part of a week. 4 days later, TMZ published the video from Burtonsville, Maryland. Outside a coffee shop and gym, Cardi visibly yelling at Diggs while he leaned against his sports car with his arms crossed and said nothing. A man traveling with Cardi stepped in and put a hand on her, trying to calm things down. A source told TMZ they overheard Cardi say, "That B is messy," though who she was referring to stayed unclear. Security turned away fans wanting autographs while the argument played out for at least 10 minutes, and by that evening, the clip had gone completely viral. Cardi's response on X landed like only Cardi can deliver. "Sometimes I forget I'm a celebrity. Damn, y'all ain't never cussed your baby dad out when you hungry." Funny, relatable, and completely beside the point of why everyone actually watched that video. Here's what the record actually shows in less than 12 months. A felony charge filed against her boyfriend. A paternity confirmation for another woman's baby arriving the same month as their son. A breakup after a Super Bowl loss. A legal acquittal. A chef posting on Instagram telling Cardi directly that she knows the truth. A Mother's Day event full of PDA, and then a 10-minute parking lot argument 4 days after that. A source close to Cardi framed her entire mindset in one line. The second she felt that she couldn't trust him, she pulled back. Jamila Adams, legally defeated but clearly not finished, keeps circling back to one message for Cardi specifically. "You know I didn't lie. What nobody can answer for Cardi except Cardi is whether stability is actually possible with this much noise attached to one person's name. The son they share makes a clean break complicated. The door, according to people close to her, hasn't fully closed. The parking lot video suggests whatever is behind that door isn't exactly peaceful either. Legally, Stefon Diggs walked out of that Dedham courthouse a free man. Personally, the situation Cardi B finds herself in is a lot more complicated than a jury verdict can solve. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Cardi should walk away for good, or is there still something worth holding on to here? And if you want to stay on top of this story as it develops, you already know what to do.